Good day, my name is Diotrines and this is my EIS presentation. Since the 15th of March 2011, a conflict in Syria has been going on between President Bashar al-Assad's government on the one side and the protesters on the other side. Heavy fighting has been going on between the Syrian army and the so-called Free Syrian Army. Thousands of people on both sides have been killed, and both sides are supported by different countries all over the world. Kofi Annan, appointed as special envoy, has made a 6-step plan in order to stop the violence and to get both sides negotiating. A ceasefire has been called in, and the United Nations first sent 30, and after this 260 observers in order to monitor peace. It seems, however, that violence continues. Take for instance the Hula massacre that occurred during the ceasefire, where 108 people were killed, including both women and children. Because of this, people are questioning if the presence of the United Nations in Syria is really working in reducing violence. The main question is the United Nations intervention in Syria making progress in reducing violence? Deconstruction. What are the different perspectives represented? On one side, there's General Robert Mood, head of the UN observer mission to Syria. He claims that the level of violence in Syria has decreased significantly since the arrival of the observers, and that he feels the impact of the observers on the places where they are deployed. On the other side, there's Peter Harling, from the International Crisis Group. He states that the small number of international observers cannot enforce the ceasefire, nor halt the violence. He states that this mission came to life when the international community could not agree on something else. What are the key components of the argument or claim? The key component of General Mood's claim is that the level of violence in the places where the UN observers are stationed is decreasing. He also feels the impact of the observers. This can be classified as a fact because he doesn't have any official evidence that implies the reduction of violence on the ground. Therefore, the key component of his claim is an opinion because he feels the impact of the UN observers. The key component of Harling's claim is that the observer group is too small to be effective. This is also an opinion because there's no official amount of observers needed in order to achieve peace. He considers the observation force to be too small. What are the implications? The consequence of General Mood's claim would be the UN observer mission being successful and ultimately creating a peaceful environment to start negotiations between both sides. This could lead to a new government being formed, or the old government trying to cooperate more with the opposition. The consequence of the observer mission failing, which Harling sees as the most likely to happen, would be the violence going on, and the conflict could develop in a full-scale civil war, leading to a revolution or a victory for the current government. What are the strengths and weaknesses? The main weakness of General Mood's claim is that its key component is an opinion. Facts make much stronger key components than others, and an opinion key is a big weakness. The strength is that he is very realistic. He explains that the mission is very complicated and that it might fail. For Harling's argument, it's the same. His key component is also an opinion. A strength of his claim is that he clearly explains the circumstances under which this plan was created, and why he thinks these circumstances aren't very beneficial for its chance of success. Is there a valid conclusion or claim? No. Mood doesn't support his claim with any statistics of the amount of violence before and after the arrival of the observers. If he had this, his claim would be a much stronger one. Harling doesn't support his claim with evidence either. However, due to massacres such as the one in Hula, which occurred after the deployment of the observers, is shown that there is still a lot of violence occurring in Syria. Reconstruction. There is not very much evidence for both claims, mostly because they are both opinions, and the two sides didn't underbuild their claims with evidence themselves. Therefore, it's hard to reconstruct their claims. There is, however, evidence that supports Harling's viewpoint. The Hula massacre, which occurred on May 25th, 2012, led to 108 deaths, including women and children. The main reason why this supports Harling's claim is that it occurred after the UN observers had been deployed. It shows that the number of UN observers might be too small, or that their presence doesn't have as much effect as General Mood claims it has. The context of these claims is the Syrian conflict between the government, led by President Bashar al-Assad, and the protesters. Fighting has been going on between the Syrian army and the Free Syrian Army, made up of protesters and deserters of the Syrian army. The UN has sent unarmed observers in order to achieve and maintain peace in Syria. Both the views come from people involved in this conflict, but both viewpoints are different. Reflection. Before carrying out research, I assumed that the United Nations would be able to achieve peace in Syria. I thought that enough foreign pressure would make President al-Assad give up, but now I'm not so sure anymore. I would like to believe that the presence of the UN observers has effect, but due to the lack of evidence General Mood gives, I find it very unclear if it does, and what kind of effect they have. On the other hand, I think it's very easy to criticize and be skeptical about the mission, just like General Mood states. Of course, it's very hard to create peace with only 300 observers, but even the smallest reduction of violence can have an enormous impact on people's lives. But due to the lack of evidence and the big division between the Syrian people, I think the scale of the UN mission is too small, and I don't think the UN observers will be able to achieve peace in all of Syria.